Recording is on.
All right, welcome to the design review call with 1010 Finance. As you, I did prepare a bit of a document here that I will share in the chat here that we can use for collaborative note taking. There are also some links in there: link to the issue, link to the website, link to the Figma file that we'll take a look at, and with design reviews. The team as far as I know, there's kind of an old design that's live and there's a new design, so we can discuss both of those. I think it's always helpful to also give an introduction to the project. 1010 Finance has been in my head, I think, since last year's one of the Bold Fun hackathons. I think that's where it originated, but I'm also kind of curious to hear, how the project started, how it's evolved then since that time, kind of what the target users are, how the project's going, all of these different things would be really awesome to hear before we then go into looking at actual designs. So everyone here has a bit of a frame of how to think about it. Um, yeah, that would be a good start. And so, who from the team is all here? I think we have several people.
Yeah, so it's me, Richard. It's Ben and it's Triumph. So Ben is helping us out with yeah, kind of project related stuff, marketing stuff in related to 10.1, and Triumph is recently joined us to support us in redesigning the app and making a better effort in making things more usable and better looking, which I think our app really is deeply in need of. Hey, John. Okay, maybe I start by you wanted to give me let me give you a little bit of introduction into 10.10.1, where we're coming from. And yes, 10.10.1 as idea, as brand, or whatever you want to call it, started with the last or the very first Legends of Lightning tournament. But the idea of self-custodial trading has originated already quite a year before, 2 years before that, with a product that also went live, ItchySats, but which was only running on Raspberry Pis and not mobile. So what we identify is like, okay, we cannot reach as many users with this Raspberry Pi solution as we wish to. And as well, we were developing our own, yeah, because let's say our own protocol for off-chain. So it was not compatible with Lightning. So we figured for Legend of Lightning, we wanted to take both of these aspects and tackle those and say, okay, what is a layer 2 protocol that's meeting our vision and ideals, that is Lightning, which is fully Bitcoin, and which how we can at best approach most user, and this is Lightning as well as mobile. So we find, okay, let's try to get our backend solution, our service into a mobile solution. And as you can see from our journey in our mobile, we have never developed a mobile app before. So we made quite some progress on on that one, on some learnings. And so we had our first POC in Legends of Lightning, get it working with one kind of concept, technical concept, and then we moved over to another concept, partnering a little bit with Rust DLC there, to make it technically sound. And this is also our major skill in the team, like make it technically solid, but probably not looking perfectly fine. And from a UX and UI point of view, we're lacking what we're kindly trying to improve. So what do we do? 10.1 is a self-custodial trading app, for and foremost, but we're kind of finding also synergies in this synthetic USD use case, which is kind of comparative to a stable coin completely denominated on Bitcoin. In other words, this is a short position where I'm going short on Bitcoin and saying, okay, I'm stabilizing towards US dollar or whatever, which is therefore synthesized into that currency, what you're stabilizing to. But the major part is what we started for is um, the derivatives trading, perpetual futures trading, um, and the self-custodial fashion where we see there is no alternative at the moment in the market where you have to trust the counterparty, like you have to trust the centralized exchange. So the mission and the vision of 10.10.1 is to get rid of that trust assumption that you have to again trust a centralized party with your keys to do some trading. Because if they go bust, all your money is also go bust. And there are so many examples in the past, like older ones like Mt. Gox, and new ones like FTX. And so with 10.10.1, we're trying to exactly address that issue, so you don't have to trust any counterparty to do trading. Is that sufficient to the introduction?
Yeah, I've also looked into a little bit as well. What I'm curious about is if everyone here understands the trading aspect of kind of how this stuff works, like what a short position is, what a synthetic stablecoin position is, and some of this stuff. I'm not sure how, you know, it, I mean that I think it's kind of complicated. It takes a while to wrap your head around some of those financial instruments. I don't know if we have to go through everything, but maybe some people can just ask questions. Like anyone here, like, would you like to have an intro to these things? You think you're okay without it? If you're not quite sure, or how do you feel about some of that stuff?
Oh, hi,
Hi.
Daniel here. Sorry, I don't have a camera today, but yeah, I would love to hear just the very, very basics. Like, who am I trading with if I'm trading on this platform? And how is the this synthetic stablecoin kind of created? Or, yeah, basically, am I trusting something? Yeah, those basics, because I couldn't see much of
Okay.
that in the app.
So I think what I have not mentioned before is that we're basing everything on a DLC, a discrete lock contract, which is kind of a way to bring in a smart contract, cryptographically a smart contract onto Bitcoin. And it is the trust assumption goes a little bit away. It goes away from your counterparty towards an oracle that is attesting to a price. But the clue is that this oracle isn't aware of what it is attesting to, so it doesn't know that there is a trade. It just makes attestations for a price of a source like an exchange, like BitMEX, or any other attestation, any other source that would attest a price to a given time. So in the ideal case, everything works collaboratively, but if shit hits the fan, right, you can, with the attestation of an impartial oracle, close the position unilateral. So that's how we get rid of, you have to trust the other one, or you have to trust one party to do it. There is an oracle that is attesting to a price.
Um,
So yeah.
yeah, Richard, I'm bouncing on it. To make it simple so everyone can understand, usually and traditionally, when you want to um, have leverage trading, you go a platform, traditional platforms such as centralized exchange. We can think about, I don't know, Binance, for example. And some of you guys are familiar with LN Markets. That's another platform. You can make a deposit and then you can trade, but you got to trust this third party actor, right? The main difference is that 10.10.1 aims to create one stop app when you can have the self custody over your funds, and you can trade with other peers. And 10.10.1 will facilitate the creation of the DLCs, the contract um, selling this relation between two peers, right? So you can choose to have a bet on Bitcoin price to be higher at a certain time, and other ones can bet the Bitcoin price to be lower at a certain time, and if we find a match, there is basically a contract created, and you don't have to trust a central entity to let this trade happen, to make it easier.
Thank you. Now I understand what you mean by trading. So it's not spot prices. You're not buying Bitcoin because that's what you bring to the app. You're buying a position that has a
No,
certain leverage. No?
no, that's future contracts, Bitcoin futures, and we also developed a way to make them perpetuals with rollover weekends and stuff like that. But that's maybe too deep in the in the rabbit hole already. Um, I'm bouncing back on another question from Christophe. He said that for some people it's a little bit technical to understand what is a short, but basically one of the main feature 10.10.1 brings on the table is the possibility to have a stable balance expressed in USD or any currency in the future that is self-custodial. And to achieve that, yes, it relies on a short, but maybe Richard this time will be better positioned to explain it clearly.
Um, how the short position will go. Okay, basically, yeah, short and long is either I'm the way I'm explaining it to myself every time when I'm trying to when I work on it is to say, as Ed said, there's a future, right? So when I'm going long, it means I'm I'm lending my Bitcoin away to somebody, right? And if sorry, no, I'm buying Bitcoin from somebody when I'm go long, and when I'm go short, I'm lending it to somebody. It's always that's always get it wrong the first time. So I'm buying Bitcoin because going long in the future, I think it's more valuable to me to go now long because now the price is cheaper than it will be in the future. So the contract will get executed in the future. So I will now make a contract that I can borrow Bitcoin from you for that price, right? So if I'm then closing a contract at a later point, I've made a profit because at that point it would be worth X amount, which is hopefully more than it was at the point where I opened the contract. Now, if you turn this around by selling, it means I'm basically going I'm going long for the fiat currency or the denominated currency. So I would lend I would lend Bitcoin, right? To in order to get definitely the amount of contracts back, right? And if the amount of contract is denominated in USD, that would mean I'll give you Bitcoin, and if the price of Bitcoin uh, appreciates, you made a profit, great. But I will still get my $10 back. I will still get $10. The same way if it depreciates, so if it falls, I would still get my $10 back. And at this time, I also made it a profit because Bitcoin even went high. I lost, and I've got more for my Bitcoin than I actually would get on the market because it was a future. So, and with that, it's actually stabilized because independently of how the Bitcoin price moves, I will always get my contracts back. It could be good for me from a trading point of view or bad for me from a trading point of view, but from a trading pair point of view, to say what is the denominated currency, what's the currency that is traded on, synthesized, it will always be $10. And this is within the range, obviously, of the DLC of what can be collateralized. So it's not stabilized in the terms it will be indefinitely stabilized. It will be stabilized as long as the collateral of the counterparty is still up for holding that position. At the point in time where this is not possible anymore because there is not enough collateral for it, the position would be liquidated and you can't be stable anymore in that sense. So we need to be careful when naming it stable. It's very similar to it, but there are some limits to it, of how long it can be stable. And this is, now coming back to the UX point of view, also something that needs the app to be able to communicate, right? it's kind of stable, and there are rough edges. If the price is moving a lot, like if the price doubles, kind of, or falls twice as much, depending on the leverage, of course, your pegs, how we call them, are not stable anymore.
Yeah.
And that's a challenge, right? It's a challenge next to other challenge, how to communicate that. It has some aspects of a stable coin, but it's not. And it's firstly not a coin. That's the most important thing. It's a contract. It's perpetual future. It's not a coin. There is no asset issued other than a multi-sig, right? There is no asset, and yeah, there are some rules to the contract on how to resolve it and how long it can hold your coin stable.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks for that. We're about 20 minutes in. I think maybe we should have a session, like a community session at some point, to kind of dive into these things, because I think the topic of stablecoins on Lightning sounds like that is going to be a bigger thing in the future. We actually also have a issue that Steven started some time back to actually explain some of those mechanisms and add them to the design guide. So that is kind of an ongoing topic. But for the purpose of this call, how about we switch over to the design conversation about what you have right now, what you'd like to have input with.
Well, the tricky part is that at the moment we are talking right now, we have a closed beta version. Some of you guys may have access to it because I made sure to send access to the ones requiring it. We've made pretty good progresses in terms of UI and UX, but we are not at it yet. And we started working with forgot Anthony to create a new UI and UX, making it easier to understand and smoother for every users. And we pasted the link in the GitHub card you created.
Yeah. So you're currently have the closed beta, which I tried it out. I did not actually trade anything, but I did try all the rest. Did any others here try it out?
I've only commented on the Figma file itself. Okay. I've not actually tried the app yet.
Okay.
Yes, I did download the app, but yeah, I also didn't fund it, but I clicked through all the screens and stuff.
Okay. And I think with design, it's often good to kind of separate it into different things. For one, you could treat visual styling as a separate topic. Like, is the text legible? Is the contrast clear? Are the animations smooth? Or do things fit nicely on the screen? Are the interactions kind of work well? And the other thing is the kind of the information architecture. Like, when I create a trade, is it clear? Is the information communicated clearly so I as a user can make a clear decision? Can I understand the graph, the chart clear? Is the order book easy to read? Is it easy for me to see where my position is? That's kind of more the information design. And another topic is often onboarding, how someone goes from the website, starts the app, goes through the first few screens, and then starts doing things. Is there any specific topic you'd like to pull up? We could pull up the designs together, or anything you'd like to point out or dive into?
And maybe any specific part of the user flow that you'd like us to start off with, because there's a lot of screens in there. So if we just zone into one which you guys are most interested in, we can start on that, on any of the above topics that Christoph mentioned.
I mean, I think we don't have any draft designs for it yet. So it's probably not the best to start with. But I think in terms of the wallet features, we have a lot of good examples, I would say, or can copy from, so to say. What I think from a UX and UI point of view is a challenge where we have a little bit of example in Blink, is how to communicate and how to visualize the possibility of using your stable, your PAX, for sending for paying a Lightning invoice, or using your regular Lightning, right? And how to get that, how to receive that in either way, right? Because there is not an example on how this could be. I mean, there's one example in Blink how this could be visualized, but they still have different constraints. And additionally, since we're self-custodial, we have to kind of work with some kind of reserves to always consider fees if we would go on chain, right? So one thing we have already gotten as feedback from users is to say, well, why is there more money locked up than actually margin in the trade? And this is because we might go on chain and we need to lock up the fees as well. If we need to go on chain, right? This money will still get back to you if we don't need to go on chain. But yeah, those kind of things are not intuitive to the users, and it's hard to visualize that in a way that is also informing the user that this is for that purpose there, and it also shouldn't scare them away either, right? There's kind of challenges we face. We're not having good ideas on how to do it. I mean, there are a lot of things that we know, okay, from your work on the Bitcoin design templates, we can copy a lot as well, right? But this is kind of a challenge which is very use case specific.
Yes, we've had a bunch of conversations around that too. The what's it called? Channel limit? No, it's not channel limit. Deposit. What's the term? Minimum?
Yeah, depending on which implementation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's some weird things where it's like I'm trying to spend everything, but I can't because of the limits and all of this stuff.
In Rust Lightning, it's the unspendable reserve amount.
The reserve, that's the word. Yeah. That's a good one. That's a common topic, I think, for a lot of Lightning wallets. Just taking a note here real quick in the how to communicate channel reserve.
And then on our side, it's even harder, right? Because based on that, we as well have a counterparty balance, right? Because you're having a channel where there are two sides, and so there's of course the challenge of communicating how much you can receive, because how much of inbound liquidity you have.
Mm-hmm.
But now you have a DLC channel, which we're also creating for the DLC, for the trade, is that there is a margin that has to be put up by the counterparty as well, right? Because it is fully collateralized. And it's hard to communicate to the user what his trade would mean for the other side to put up in liquidity. Let's say you would like to go 100 leverage, so that would require you to put up not a lot of margin. But now it depends on what the leverage is going for by the counterparty.
Yeah.
So and then we might not be able to do all the trades, because you might go leverage 100 for 100 contracts, and then but there is not enough liquidity in the channel.
Yeah.
That also brings us to a challenge on the onboarding, is to say, like, we were trying to let you choose from 3 options to say how much liquidity you want in your channel that allow you to trade more higher volumes, right? Because if you want to trade higher volumes, which is collateralized, the counterparty has to bring in the collateral to allow you for that bigger trade.
Mm-hmm.
Now, just raising the leverage, unfortunately, doesn't help it, because unless the counterparty takes always the same leverage, there might not be enough liquidity. So we cared for that on the user interface, and I think it's very unclear, because you see a usable balance, but then even though you see we can't make that trade because the counterparty doesn't have enough balance for that. And that's also a challenge, how to communicate that, like, because it doesn't only depend on how much balance you have.
Yeah. I just had to think. Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead, Christoph.
Could I ask just one question about this? So do you open up a channel per trade? Is that how it works?
Oh, no, the Lightning channel will be just one. But within that channel, we're creating a split transaction to reflect the DLC channel. So we're splitting the Lightning channel into two outputs, the funding transaction into two outputs. You can read about this in our blog, but basically we're splitting up the Lightning channel into a Lightning channel that remains open and a DLC channel. And on the DLC channel, we're having our DLC protocol. And on the Lightning channel, it remains still a Lightning channel with all the aspects of a Lightning channel.
Okay.
If both parties were to agree to share their available, well, not their available balance, but maybe something like a max. I don't. It's such a sensitive topic because it's just not, doesn't even feel right asking someone to share their max balance.
Oh no, that information is known to both parties because
Okay.
you always know the full capacity of the channel you're having, and you know how much you have. The full capacity minus what you have is what the other side has.
Okay.
Yeah.
It still feels like there was some step that was missing because you mentioned that there was a problem with available capacity.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah, the capacity. I mean, the information that's needed here is what is the leverage that the other side is taking. I think that's fair to show to the user because the user should also know how, to what point his trade is actually possible. What can he trade it? What can he win from that trade? And basically, in a DLC, what he can win is at maximum the collateral that the other party is putting into the trade.
Yeah.
So let's say both put in a Bitcoin. It's definitely you can't win more than a Bitcoin, right? Because there is not more collateral in that trade. So, but if you would like to make a trade with one Bitcoin, but the other side only has half a Bitcoin, then you can't. The counterparty can't put up the trade, can't put up the collateral for the trade. That's the issue.
Yeah, that's so there's also kind of a sequence of things, right? There's when. So in the sequence is that I go to the trade screen, right? I look at this graph and I think this is a good opportunity for me right now. For some reason, I feel like it's going to go up or it's going to go down. I want to bet on this. Then I have to make sure I look at the order book, right? Because I can put my ask out there. Like, here's the trade that I would like to make, and I can hope someone else finds it, right? And there's a matchmaking. Right? There's a matchmaking that happens.
There is, yeah. But what you see on the price is that we're up. So currently we do not visualize in order book.
Mm-hmm.
What you see is you get the latest limit orders, and you always see the best price in that from this order. And when you go for and that's what we show you, right? What's the market price we're showing you is from the order we're having the best one.
But that's not necessarily, like you just said, that's not necessarily what I want, right? Because it might be the best one, but there's not much for me to win because of the low collateral or whatever. So it might not be the one that I want. I was just thinking of, we had this design review with Peach Wallet, and there's also kind of a matchmaking process that they go through where you put what you want to do out there, and then you get matched. There's kind of a notifications I think you get, or you can see them right away, and then you can kind of swipe through the different options. And I think for them the key is the percentage or the amount over the regular price, right? How much extra are you paying for these no KYC peer-to-peer Bitcoin? And they highlight that thing because that's kind of the key thing users are looking for at that moment. So, I think, have you considered, instead of just trying to having some type of matchmaking process where you can kind of swipe through the different options and maybe each one is communicates like what I can gain from it? And
I've put in a link. Christoph and I were thinking exactly the same thing because I was also on the Peach Wallet call, and they have a match process in their design flow. And I've copied and pasted that link in there because yeah, because that was their design flow that we went through them. And here's the match process that Christoph was referring to, if I'm correct.
Okay, hold on. There's a comment here, but the application actually has to work that way, right?
I think there's a difference. Here, I think we use existing financial instruments. So you would, if you want to make a market price, it's typically the price at the current order book that you can get, and this is a market order. You might talk about other kind of orders which we do not support yet, which could be a limit order to say I want to buy at that price, like even though the price is somewhere else right now, but if the price moves, buy that amount of contracts for it, but only at that price and not at the best price in the order book. And there could be orders like stop loss, like if I have an open position, buy if the price drops below X amount, or take profit if it grows higher than this one, take the profit. I think there are different ways. At the moment, we're just supporting, I mean, the sign already indicates that there will be a limit order, but at the moment in our beta, we're supporting market orders, which is the best price at the moment.
Okay.
Congrats, Richie. You already lost everyone. It's our first call.
Great.
It's okay, guys. You know, sometimes it takes a little bit longer to understand something. But sometimes you need to ask a lot of questions before you can come up with a solution.
Oh, no worries. I was joking. But yeah, that's probably the most challenging part of yeah, the whole design challenge we have.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So if we look at this market buy here it shows that there will be a margin of 526 K sats. But it will also mean that the counterparty will put up the same amount of margin. So locked up in the DLC is not 526K, but over 1 million. All right, because the other side will also bring it in. And that.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Richard.
So while this is telling you how much you're putting at risk, it will currently at the current design we have no way to tell him what is it actually that you can gain, right? What is the maximum that you can win? Unless we're using the exact same leverage as the user selected here, which I do not see at the moment, this might be different, right?
Could there be a way, because you just mentioned there's over 1 million in the channel, so there's 526 on one side and there's 526 on the other side. Is that correct?
Depending on the leverage, yes. If they use the same leverage, then it's true. That's correct.
So there's this channel. So let's just imagine there's this channel, and that's 1 million between these two people. So visually, you could represent a channel of 1 million. Like, let's hypothetically say that's in the form of this long pillbox, indicating 1 million. And then what they would get out of that, if that would positively go through, would be something else, which would be, I don't know what, 650. I don't know, I'm just making up a number.
Yeah.
So in a very simple terms, you could show this is the relationship between the two of you. Here's the 1 million relationship between the two of you. And in a smaller pillbox, this is what you get out of it. You get out this positively 650 if this goes through. And maybe instead of showing that as numbers, show it as something like visual, like a box, like a pill. I don't know,
I mean, they can get everything, right? So see it like a pot, right? See it like on a poker table. I don't want to make too much reference to gambling, but see it as a pot. Both put in the pot X amount, so that what you can gain is always everything. But obviously, from what you can gain, you can get yourself back, your money back, and you can get the money from the other side if he's right. And now this is an inverse curve. There's a payout curve, depending on the different outcomes there could be. It's not binary. You get everything or I get everything. It is depending on the price. If it's very close to the original price, you probably get not that much. But if it's like doubled, for instance, the price, you get everything.
Yeah, that's it's. I think that's worth a design exploration there. Different ways to visualize this, where before I press OK and slide that over, where I can almost preview like what are the extremes. Like it goes really well for me, it goes really poorly for me. What can happen, and maybe visualize that curve somehow. So users can just kind of preview it ahead of time and like look at different scenarios. I think that'd be really interesting to do.
I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with the Jam Join Market UI as well, which also has this sort of visualization tool for users. That's also sort of coming to mind. It's the whole pot concept, which was put the money into the jam pot and see how you spread your money amongst sats amongst the jam pots. I mean, that's also, this sort of idea from Christoph as well is maybe visualizing it would create more trust as well. I pulled up an image of the UI here as well, but it's a very fun, simple little design concept that helps to explain a very complex topic, which also creates more trust for users as well. If they don't feel like they know what's going on, then they're not going to go ahead with it.
Maybe this helps a bit. I copied a link to GitHub pull request where we've implemented the inverse payout curve. If you can quickly switch to it. But I mean, that's basically where you have below you have the dollars and you have the Bitcoin payout price. So below you have the price where it can move, and below you have the on the vertical line you will have the payout in Bitcoin and the price in dollars. Right. So you could position yourself, if that would help. If you're thinking of something like this, if that would help to visualize, like depending on where the price lands, you can just draw the line towards how much is the payout. This is what you would get back from that.
Yep.
That's what we could do, and we could then make a, what if the price like three options, like three possibilities, right? Like it stays the same, both get the same amount back. It appreciates 25%, you will there. It depreciates 25%, it will be there. And then you could simply look at the graph. What's different?
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, ideally, someone who does this type of trade, ideally, if they think Bitcoin will increase in size, they should be able to say, like, or not in size, right, in price, but like, what do they think the price should be? Like, is it going to double, triple, 0.15, whatever, and so they can kind of preview and think more clearly about what they're going to, what they think will happen.
It could also be like you have a slider on the bottom, right? So you move the price to what you think it will end up, right? And then you will see where you left your slider, what would be the payout for you and what will be the payout for the counterpart.
Yeah, and if you visualize that for users in a good way, then once they have an active position, that visual could actually, continue to be there as like a quick way to identify, here's how it's going for me right now.
Yeah. But if you compare it to others, it's like if you compare it to BitMEX, they're not doing it like that. So that would be something new, right? It's also good, right? But one aspect was as well to not make it completely look different to any existing exchange utilities. It should have some similarities. This was like initially could be wrong to do it in the first place like that. But one thing was to do, it should kind of resemble the same experience.
And I guess that comes back to something Daniel mentioned earlier. Like who is this for? Are you trying to get traders in there who, I mean, they will just, like, if someone's pro trader, they will just figure this out. They can do all this math in their heads. They don't need anything else. Or
Right.
is it something where this is kind of a capability and you want to put it in like a non-speculative gambling in a more moderate way, make that available to a broader group of people who then also need, a bit more guidance and introduction and maybe a different presentation?
That's fair.
I would argue in the short. Sorry for interrupting the conversation. I would argue in the short term, people taking the long positions would be people that are more sophisticated and don't need that much of the explanation in the graphical support. People using the stable sats feature or the whoever USD peg feature would be more novice users and obviously would need a bit more help.
Yeah. I was actually wondering about that. In the beta app, you have the stabilize feature, which I did not see in those designs. Are the designs just not done for that part, or is it a feature that will be removed, or what's the status of those two?
At the moment, it's just stabilize. What we want it to be is like there's not going to be a dedicated screen. The idea is, but it's really just like what I said before. Is you just pick where you want to pay an invoice from, and you could either use your PAX, or you could use your your regular Lightning invoice, or maybe on-chain, right? But yeah, maybe we still need it for the purpose of if you have existing Lightning and you want to stabilize that into PEX. So yeah, we're not having it yet in the design completely thought through.
Okay. Is everyone clear on the stabilization feature on that? Basically, you say, I don't want Bitcoin right now. I want a representation of dollars because I think that value I prefer that value right now, right? And then that gets realized through a market mechanism.
Yeah, that's it. That's the idea.
And then can I send those over Lightning to other people? Probably not, because it's just a market mechanism.
The idea is, yes, you can. The way we envision that is, so obviously from 10.10.1 to 10.10.1, that's not an issue.
Mhm.
But it is just an automation of closing part of your, let's say you have 10 contracts and you want to send 5 contracts over, like let's say contracts dollars, right?
Mhm.
And you want to send over $5. So what we would do, we would resize your short position of 10 contracts to 5 contracts, basically selling off, buying back the Bitcoin, so to say. Right? So it's the other way around. So buying back your Bitcoin, you buy back your Bitcoin, so you have it back on your Lightning channel, and then we send that amount over to somebody else. So it's just one intermediate step before sending it over. And now it could be that the other side is, for instance, Blink. Blink, you can choose now if you want to receive it stabilized or not. They would then stabilize it in their terms or how they want it to be. The same would go for 10.10.1. So if you want to receive it stable, it doesn't matter who's paying it. You can say whatever Lightning you receive on that Lightning invoice, you will immediately open a short position of that amount you're receiving. So the way we would realize sending around packs would be to have always this intermediate step between you sending from one to the other is reducing the size of the position on one side to Lightning, send the payout over Lightning to the receiver. The receiver takes the Lightning and immediately creates a short position with that amount.
Yep.
So it will be completely compatible with Lightning. You can send it over because under the hood it still uses Lightning to send it over. But the receiver and the sending for them, it looks like they've sent over a synthetic USD stable.
Question. So Anthony is here. He's the designer for this, right?
So Anthony is a very is on the project for just I think a couple of weeks.
Mhm.
So he's starting to help us to get things better looking, and the designs you're just sharing are his work, and in collaboration with the team so far. Yeah, Anthony Triumph. No, not Triumph. Anthony. Amazing. What's it called? Amazing. Not using your. It's not Anthony. Sorry, Anthony. It is Triumph. Maybe Triumph. You want to say something about yourself?
My name is Triumph, and I did the design that I am currently looking at.
Awesome. How's the project going for you? How do you feel about the design? What would be helpful for you? We heard a lot about kind of the mechanics now of things, but how's it going for you, and how can we help?
So I think the project is actually going well. It made me kind of know a lot of things about lighting because to be honest, I didn't know a lot about lighting and how the stuff works. So right now, I think I'm getting a hang of it. So far, so good.
There's some noise in the background. Who's that coming from? If someone could turn that off. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
So
it's quite noisy here.
okay. Yes, you don't have any specific questions or things you'd like to draw attention to.
No, not at the moment.
No. Okay.
Yeah. What are questions from others here? Anyone? Any talking points, questions? We have about 10 minutes left, so I think there's a ton here, but we should get any more questions out, and then maybe we could just talk real quickly about where to take this next. There's clearly a bunch of stuff to do. You have a good designer. You have just tons of stuff that you want to do, but maybe we can figure out how this design community can help with things as well. So, but any more questions or topics?
I have one more question. I hate to go back. I guess are you maybe just try to summarize exactly what's going on here for me? You're matching your counterparty, you're buying at market price with a counterparty. The counterparty is just supporting.
Okay.
That part I don't understand. That it's not a limit trade, that it's at market price, but
It's at market price. So don't know where to start.
okay, yeah, I don't want to go into like a whole thing. That's the one thing that I haven't got my head around yet.
They're typically this platform is set up with market makers and takers.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a market maker that is regularly publishing trades, like short and long, right? And those are public, those are limit orders. You can take them along, right? And that is basically how we set up the market price.
Okay,
right?
so you're just matching somebody's. I got you. That's the market price. Okay.
That's the market price.
Okay. All right, so you're just matching buyers with sellers, and people can list their own price.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And you hear me? I'm not sure if my mic is working.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me?
Okay. Well, I just wanted to kind of summarize some of my high-level thoughts. I think this is super interesting to me because it's such an unusual product. I haven't seen much of this in the Bitcoin space, but I also kind of keep thinking that your real product is the contract in a way, right? The protocol. And if this was to become super successful, it's the protocol that would make it possible, and you would probably like to have other people building on your protocol. The reason I say that is because I think when you build an app like this, which is going to be nicely designed, it's going to be simple to use, I think it helps tremendously if you're really, really focused as well on the use case. Most of us has hundreds of apps on our phones, and we mostly kind of open each one of them to do one thing. And that's sort of, for me here, it feels like the trading use case is the most unique, and it's a very specific user group that you can target very well. So I would really double down on going super kind of narrow on the trading use case, because everything will be much easier to decide and to design if you know that. I think some of the other things you mentioned are really interesting, but I would design a completely different app.
Yeah.
If people were to send or kind of trying to kind of buy synthetic USD for just safekeeping, or I doubt many traders are interested in sending peer-to-peer stable amounts of Bitcoin. So that's just my summary feedback overall. It seems like we have a great product underneath. The trading protocol can be super complex and very kind of mathematical and trading focused. And then if you want to build a product on top, like an app, make it super focused and simple for a very specific user group.
I'd like to play two remarks to that. So we were back and forth on the idea whether or not there should be a separate app. So I think this is not yet decided, right? So I think for the first start, we said, let's put everything into one app because it's easier for us to ship than separate apps, right? Because we also see that there are different users, definitely, right? Different target users in terms of the ones who are trading and the ones who would like to use a PAX wallet, right? The reason why we also like to push forward with both of those use cases is because we see a synergy in both of them. Because naturally, those PAX users would bring in volume in terms of short positions, right? Well, this could be then the counterparties for consumers for the long positions, right? Which at the end, if you just visualize it more simpler to like the ones who just want to have a stable synthesized USD, but in the end, it's still a trade. Right? So there is, to bring in more volume into the order book, we see a synergy of combining those two things. So that's the reason why we want to focus both of them with the purpose of the volume in the order book.
So you're saying that one of your goals, there has to be a high level of volume and liquidity between the traders.
Oh yeah, liquidity is one of the technical issues or commercial issues we're having. Yeah, and we need to find liquidity.
I'd like to bounce back on what Daniel was saying. Yeah, we are pretty conscious of that, but at the very moment, we need to build a proof of concept of the different use case and usages of the service we are providing. Let's say DLC as a service or whatever you want to call it. And it's really important to prove that these use cases are possible and function well before even thinking about developing each of them separately in different apps addressing one target at a time. But yeah, we are conscious of it.
Awesome. I'd love to, if I had more time, I would love to dig into this project and start designing. What is your highest priority right now? What's the most important thing? You said you need to prove this proof of concept. What are you looking into right now from a design perspective? Is it like reskinning the whole thing? Is it getting this trading UI just right? Is it the onboarding experience? Is it the pro version or the stable one? What's the most important thing?
Everything, right?
Well, then nothing is important.
So if you just ask me, right, what I'm super hyped about is actually quite advanced at the moment. Maybe it's not perfect. It's definitely not perfect on the trading aspect. But what's probably not very well explored is how to make that PAX work, like the synthesized USD make that work and how to convey that concept to a user, right? Because there are the obvious aspects of, everybody can think of, sending and receiving. Yeah, that's clear. But what if you want to stabilize existing Lightning? What you want to Bitcoinize existing? We just invented those terms. I don't know if they're good, right? But if you want to pack them, unpack them, you could also say that. How to convey fees, reserves, and all of those messages, which get just a little bit more complicated, which is already for Lightning channels, right?
Yeah.
Now with DLCs, there are even more aspects to it, right? There is not just the funding transaction and the commitment transaction. There is now as well a split transaction, a buffer transaction, a CET, right? What's that, right? What are the different outcomes? How long will it be? Like, how secure is it, right?
Mhm.
What is my collateral, right? I mean, if we're calling it stable, can we even call it stabilized, right? It's not stable. It's more like insured. It's an insurance that you will stay stable until that price, right? Until it hits that price, and it's not stable anymore, unfortunately. Right?
Mhm.
So those are concepts, I think, which are completely new, or not completely new, but new in terms of commercializing that or bringing that into a product, right? And making it, describing it in a way so that a non-technical user is able to understand and follow it and know what he or she is doing.
Yeah.
I think that's the most challenging part, which is the most genuine part of the app. And I think everything else, I feel like, just there are best practices out there we can probably copy, but here I don't see a best practice. This is, for me, the priority to focus on. Say, okay, how can we make that better?
That is super cool. That'd be awesome if you could actually write kind of a spec out, like a design spec for that, like common use case, things to consider, the problems, what to communicate. That would, I think that'd be super cool. Yeah, I don't know. Like, sorry, what was the designer's name? Not Anthony, was Thunder. I mean,
Right.
how do you feel about that particular issue? Easy to tackle,
Sorry,
some support. Yeah, I just wanted to ask if as a community, if we can support that process somehow. I think it's a super interesting design challenge there.
I think the connection
Yeah.
is not best.
Yep, but maybe that's a good thing to get out of this call. I don't know what you think. I'm just throwing things out there. Feel free to suggest something else. If you could write a bit of a design spec around that, and maybe a few people want to gather around it and kind of tackle this, or if you want to design things internally and have another design review session specifically on that topic, or we could also do kind of a 1-hour design jam session if that's something that would be helpful.
That upcoming fall.
Sorry. One of those.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's the first time I've joined such a call, so I'm not sure about the procedure and what to expect from what we can do. I can definitely write up some design spec. Like if you give me some kind of template, I don't know how this design spec should be structured.
Mm-hmm.
So if you could give me an example, I can definitely put something together.
Mm-hmm.
I think definitely it's going to be an iterative process. So I think I don't know how much we can use of your time and how often we can set such a call up, but I would hope that we could, if there was going, like if you have more time for us, that we could probably next time talk more about the flow of the app, like how from a UX point of view. I think to me the most important thing is firstly to make UX right, get the information out there that's needed, get the feedback out there that's needed, and then let's make it nice looking. Say if you excuse my harsh word on that, but yeah. So doubling down on you asked me before, what's my highest priority? My highest priority is get UX right, and then make it look good.
Yeah, there was it make
Yes.
it work, make it usable, make it pretty, something like that.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, I would like to thank Bitcoin design community for hosting this interview, this design review, and my personal opinion on what the priority is. Of course, the trading part is really important, and it's kind of the backbone of all the rest. But yeah, in fine, the general UI UX of the wallet is also important. So if some of you guys are interested in reviewing another another iterations of our work, we will be really happy.
Yeah.
And for it helps if I think that you like Daniel also said the use case I think has to be pretty clear in order for you to be able to actually tell if the UX is good or not. And something that helps me most of the time is just write out a story just like in prose, like a normal text, to say what you actually want the user to experience when they set up a trade. So you just write it down in your own words, and then you will, because you will then discover what you want the user to see and understand in that, for instance, when they're setting up a trade. And so it's a bit of more lightweight way to kind of get started without having a think about a spec sheet or something like that. It can be it's also simpler than the flowchart, because you just explain what you would like to achieve, and then you can kind of follow along that narrative to start actually the UX and the design work.
Yeah, it'd be awesome if you could drum something up and get something going here over the next days and weeks. It'd be super cool. But should we wrap things up for now, or is there anything?
Yep. I think from my point of view, yeah, let's wrap up.
Yep, that was really rich, and thank you guys for all your good suggestions, even in the chat. And I got a question: is it possible to have all these comments we have in the chat, or will they vanish into the void after we close the call?
I think they will vanish.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe just screenshot. Didn't someone said they will screenshot things?
Yeah, I took screenshots.
Okay.
I copied the chat out.
Okay.
Ben.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Control A.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, by the way, Legends of Lightning is still going, right, for another month. Is this specifically the problem they're trying to tackle, or what's your goal for Legends of Lightning?
Well, for Legends of Lightning, we propose to create the first synthetic USD over Lightning. We are working on it, and it's already implemented, but we need to make it transferable and divisible, and overall have a UI UX that is clear on it. So that's our challenge on Legends of Lightning Volume 2.
So, to your question, yes, that is the challenge. We want to focus on the design challenge of packs that we want to focus on for Legends of Lightning.
Okay, so you're trying to get this done in the next 4 weeks. The UI nice and implemented and usable. Not necessarily pretty, but usable, right?
Yes. So from a technical point of view, I'm pretty sure we will get it done.
Okay.
Today, the feature of resizing a position has landed on our main. So we have the technical backbone already. Now we can really focus on, how does it needs to be shown in the app so you can really use it, right, and understand it. I think the first version, plain version, can be out very quickly, but we kind of want to take some time to really understand what is the best flow and how to best visualize that. And that's the reason why I would focus on it now, because, as you said, for 4 weeks, for Legend of Lightning Volume 2, we want to get it done until then, and we would like to make it also look usable and nice for that.
Okay. So I'm a judge on Legends of Lightning, so I will not help with this. I cannot help.
Oh.
But others can. I'm happy to facilitate another call or so, but yeah, I cannot help with this. Oh, it would be fairly fun to do, but I just yeah. But let's see if some other people want to chip in. Maybe we can get that going, and yeah, that would be awesome. Okay, should we wrap it up? Okay, awesome. Then I will stop the recording. If this will be uploaded to YouTube, Bitcoin TV later on, I'm gonna do that right after this call and share it.